belongs to some groups that do cryptocurrency kind of stuff. So when people started dropping in, I thought these were just people I didn't know yet. So I'm admit. And this one girl, she just stood up. She took down her pants and took off her shirt and sat back down. And I was like, there's a screen cap of me literally going, what the,
dude,
what the hell?
I'll send you the screenshot of the video I took before I deleted it. His face is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. We're live, really, by the way. We're on YouTube right now.
That's how we do.
Hi, YouTube.
That's how we do. We got Heidi from Oregon. She's running for Congress up in Oregon from the Yang Gang. And I mean, we're already fans. But I was talking to Heidi about maybe doing like a little, because I've been thinking about trying to do this kind of a meme competition for an actual political candidate running for office. And of course, the Yang Gang is connected and stuff too. So yeah, we got some interesting crossover potential for some avalanche of meme. But I sent her a little questionnaire to sort of tease out some things that we might do. So we can get into that stuff later when there's some more people here. But Heidi, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, hanging in there. It's
awesome.
Pandemic, it's the greatest time of our lives here. So it's the golden era. No, that's not really. But we're getting used to it. We're hanging in there. We're, luckily we have the internet and technology. I mean, couldn't imagine if this happened in the time when people did not. That would have been.
For Floridians and people that live in hurricane susceptible areas, this is a walk in the park. We have electricity and internet. When the power goes out here for a hurricane, it's
not as good.
It's not nearly as good because it's the summertime, no air conditioning, no way to refrigerate food. So we're definitely feeling like this is like, yeah, having the internet is definitely a bonus for us right now.
Definitely helps.
Yeah.
Can
keeps it interesting. So Heidi, why don't you tell folks where you are in Oregon and what congressional seat you're running for, so everybody knows what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm running for the first congressional seat, so the first district in Oregon for U.S. representative. So it goes all the way from the Willamette River all the way to the ocean. So quite a large geographic region. Includes part of Portland, downtown Portland, Beaverton, Hillsborough, and rural communities and beach towns as well. It's a very beautiful landmass for sure, and pretty excited to be running. And hopefully I can make a huge impact and win. So that's what we're working on.
I drove that corridor in 2002 when I moved from Florida to near Vancouver, British Columbia. So we drove right up through that whole zone. It's absolutely spectacular, beautiful country.
It's really good.
I kept asking myself, why have I never lived in the Pacific Northwest before? Why did it take me this long to figure out that I should be living along this coast? It's pretty beautiful. So Corey, what do you got this morning? You said you had a list of questions for Heidi?
Yeah. She actually answered them already, but I want to talk about the answers because I wanted to give her some time to dig into that stuff. But I want to, I know, Greg, that you're not feeling the meme love right now. That's okay. But I want to put this out to everyone else. Greg told me that, I know you're super excited about this meme thing. I'm just not. I'm like, dude, you have a girlfriend. You're fucking busy. Minecraft still works for you. Yep. I don't have a fucking computer right now. So, just fucking let me have this. Anyway, for the record, that's your meme game. That's not really how that conversation went, but dramatized for effect. But anyway, so what I really want to do, if possible, and I'm gonna make some myself. So what I wanted to do was have as many people from our community as possible, and we can put this out, Heidi, and see if we can't get some submissions from yours as well. I want to get some pro Heidi memes out there.
Sweet.
And
I like it.
Yeah, so I'm going to put up $20 worth of Bitcoin and we'll maybe run it for a few days, Heidi. I've been running these little ones for a day at a time. I think we might want some more time. So $20 worth of Bitcoin to the best meme. We'll vote on it, in a few days. And everything that's coming up next, I think, is going to give people some ideas about sort of what we can do as far as the meme creation is concerned. So I asked you what are 3 bad things that you want to solve? And the first one you said was poverty. Next one was money in politics, and the next one was access to healthcare. You want to maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope poverty should be a no-brainer for people, and I think it is solvable. Right. When we live in a world of abundance, I don't believe in any limiting mindsets. I believe that we can do what we want to do based on just what we've seen so far. So I believe that we're at the stage in time where we no longer have to have poor people. We don't have to, allow that. Some people may disagree philosophically, but I would say they're wrong, and we can eradicate poverty through, UBI obviously is like the most direct way that I believe that we can get that accomplished. So,
and apparently the Pope agrees with you.
Right, exactly.
His Easter Sunday sermon was about, partly about UBI, about a universal basic income for poor people.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that. It's
Heidi plus Pope memes just went to the top of the possible list.
Me and Pope, me and the Pope.
It's Heidi and the Pope. They're on the same page.
We're kicking it. We're talking about eradicating poverty. Me and the Pope. So that's happening. So yeah, that's clear. And then the next one that I said was money out of politics. It's just clearly sleazy, and that's why nothing gets done, is that people are paid off, and it's just blatantly obvious now. And now that everybody knows from the right and the left, like it's just so clear. We need to get rid of that. And of course, I love democracy dollars. I think that that's a really cool way to get that done. We got to overturn Citizens United as well. We have to have some other regulations in place, of course, but putting that public voucher into people's hands, allowing them to donate to political campaigns, I think is a pretty cool concept. So
yeah, it's way easier to pass democracy dollars than it is to get rid of Citizens United and then also enforce getting money out of politics, right? So that was when Rio and I were talking about democracy dollars initially on the Movie 4 podcast, that was my favorite part about it, was that it's an elegant solve to that situation. Because like right now, spending in elections is about like $3 to $5 billion a year, and this would be $25 billion a year from humans, not from corporations, right? So it completely and totally tilts the playing field. And we actually, in the last episode that Rio and I did, we decided to try it. We're doing something new. We're making a policy page for the podcast, kind of like our own. But we're basically tackling major themes from a position where I'll lay out my Corey maximalist position, he lays out his Rio maximalist position, and we actually do the work to create consensus positions. And the last towards the end of the podcast we did yesterday, we were talking about the estate tax, and of course he's a trust fund baby, so he
death tax. I think you mean the death tax.
Yeah, sorry, the death tax. So he wants he wants that limited. And of course, I'm like, so anything over $1 million should be 100%. And he like literally like started coughing and like choking and didn't know how to process that at all. And so we were really curious about how we were going to figure out how to get to consensus on that one issue. And finally said, hey, listen, so can we jack it up to you take 50% of anything over 100 million, but I'll give you Citizens United. We'll get rid of it. Because again, we're in Magic Wand territory, and I'm like, well played, sir. Yes, I will take that. Anyway, so that's fantastic. So we want to end poverty. We want to get money out of politics, or add a whole bunch more in.
Yeah.
And then of course access to healthcare. I love the fact that you use the phrase access to healthcare instead of Medicare for all.
Or instead of insurance.
What's that?
Instead of insurance, let's talk about healthcare. It doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. It doesn't have to mean the same system.
Right. Like I feel like we get constrained, especially in this primary debate, right? Like we got constrained on different variations of Medicare for all or public option or this, that, and the next thing. And it seemed to me that the policy debate got less and less interesting. Yeah. Whereas you're just like, no, like everyone just needs to get fucking healthcare.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about that a little bit.
It's just as simple as that. I've talked about this with so many people up until this point, and I really think this whole Medicare for all argument is so counterproductive to what we're trying to get done here, which is access to healthcare. Everybody needs a simple way to get to a doctor, have a primary care physician that can actually treat them, in a preventative way, and make sure that they're taking care of them and not just after the profit and trying to order tons of tests and put them on meds and all these things and surgeries that they may or may not need, because it's a for-profit based model right now. And so people don't have access to it, frankly, because of financial reasons. They feel like they can't access it. Yes, they can go to the doctor, and we have, some of the best healthcare in the world, arguably the best in certain instances, yet people don't access it because they feel like they can't, because the cost is out of hand. So everybody needs access to healthcare. It needs to be simple. It just needs to be universal. Everybody can sign up for it. Done. I don't really care. I don't want to get into the private or not private. I think it's fine if there's some private options that exist out there. That's not the main point. The main point is people can't get the healthcare that they need. It's just as simple as that to me. And I hope we can get over the politics part of it and move forward, because it's not a politics issue at this point. It's just a moral issue. It's just the right thing to do.
Right. Well, Donna from our comments, Donna Van Meter, we call her Laugh Track. She posted, removing corporate money from politics would probably go a long way to eradicating healthcare and poverty problems. Like, what's funny is any one of these three things would have a cascading good effect on the other two. Any one of these things that we accomplish would be working in the right direction. And I think it's really extraordinary that when we last talked to you, like everything else, it was before. And now we have a really huge, glaring example of why these things are systemically important. And I mean, I hate the severity of the example, but here it is. Here is the walking, talking vision of how negatively what we've put in place is going to affect people, particularly people who are poor and in bad health. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I started this before we were in a pandemic, and I mean, these are things I've been for so long, and it's just because it's the policies that make sense, and that we need to move forward on and stop being reactive. Every time something happens, we're reactive on these issues. If we are just proactive and set things up so that the next time something happens, because it's coming, there's going to be another recession, depression, pandemic, active war, whatever happens, and we need to be ready for it. And this is the way to do it, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we look back at the people that survived the depression, my grandparents, who are both long gone, I think that we tend to focus on the plucky survivors of the depression that worked hard and rewashed things and we're
dug the roots out,
buried money in a jar behind their house, and how we're almost romantically attached to that. But we forget about the millions of people who died in poverty and the depression. Like, we tend to forget that it's not like it was a calamitous half of America died event, but the whole entire communities were bankrupted and set to drift, on the highways and moving between states to find work. And that's not an outcome that we should romanticize. Like, I think we lose sight of the downside of what it took to survive the depression.
I think,
I don't even know where Liberal Debbies, live. So, like, if I'm going to hunt and gather to survive.
I agree. I do really love that YouTube channel, the depression cooking with the old woman, and she's like digging up roots in the back, and she's like, "This is how I made a salad."
That's my grandparents. My mom, my dad's mom and dad were like that. And like, we have a palm tree in Florida here, that's our state tree. And it's literally called the cabbage palm. When they're small, you can cut the heart out of the cabbage palm, and it's about a foot long. And they would dice that and cook it down with onions and ham and make, called swamp cabbage. And I always thought this is like a Southern delicacy. No, this is poor people food. This is what happens when you can't get stuff from the grocery store.
Poor people food becomes delicacies. It starts as poor people food, and then that becomes like the actual food of that community, because
Anthony Bourdain, his philosophy was that he contended that all the best cuisine in the world comes from the poorest regions of the world, because you have to take substandard cuts of meat and make something fantastic to feed your family.
They have to, because they have no other choice. They have to, they have to make it taste good with whatever they got. But yeah, I mean, to that point, I think also sometimes the left kind of romanticizes the Depression in a way because of the progressive policies that came after it.
Right.
And so I think that can be really harmful. I mean, I've heard people say some very disturbing things about, wanting to see violence or wanting to see this because that's what it takes to get there. And I'm just like, that's not what it takes. Like, we really can do that without burning everything completely down and having tons of people die. Let's not go that route.
Can we though?
We. Oh, I mean, we should be able to. I mean, that's like that. Like in a reasonable human being society, that should be a thing that we could just do, right? Now, granted, one lesson I think we should take from our Republican brothers and sisters, if you can call them that, is never let a good emergency go to waste.
Right. I mean, there's bargaining power in this moment for groups of laborers that are putting themselves in danger to make sure you get food, to make sure you get medical care. Like our governor right now is talking about, well, even 2 weeks at the end of the school year would be good for students. He's thinking about reopening the schools before summer, our governor. And I'm talking to my teacher friends and I'm like, y'all need to be talking about a strike. There's absolutely no reason good enough to put all of those students and teachers back in schools before the end of the school year. It's not a thing we should even be thinking about. And what he's doing is he's giving sort of some air to private schools that are reopening. So private Christian schools in my community are reopening. It's optional, but they're basically what that's saying is, it's not that, it's everything's fine. It's good. Everything's good. So I think there is a moment here for labor movements to recognize laborers, especially to recognize the value of organizing. If our food service workers in Florida were labor organized now, we'd be having a much different conversation about who's getting a stimulus check and when. Especially tipped workers, servers and bartenders, they should be making a $15 minimum, $15 an hour minimum wage plus their tips, but their unemployment compensation is only going to be based on their hourly rate of pay, which is significantly lower than our $7.50 minimum wage. So they're not going to get, they're going to replace 20% of their income, where other people are going to replace half to 75% of their income. So this is a terrible thing we're doing to our food service workers.
Yeah.
Labor up, y'all.
Indeed. All right. So I asked you who the Goliath was to your David, and you said Susan Bonamici. You didn't say it like that.
Suzanne Bonamici. Yeah, she's the incumbent in my district. Okay. So she's the large obstacle in my way.
All right. The elephant in the room, as it were. Anyway,
because the Republican Party.
Well, no, because no. She's in a safe Democratic district running in the primary.
Right. Essentially, mine is like, I've heard some things. Like I've actually seen some other candidates or heard some people say some things because in California, when they run a primary, it's the top two. So many people run normally. The top two move on to the general.
Yep.
And then that's how it works. But in Oregon, it's not like that. It's just you have the primary, that's winner take all, and then you go against the Republican who won. And this district has not been Republican since 1975. So
wow.
Essentially, there is no general. They're not going to flip it Republican. No one's going to risk doing that. It's heavily Democratic. So
you got to be a little bit inspired by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who took a safe middle of the road Democratic seat in that primary, and essentially the same situation. There was no way her district was going to go Republican.
Yeah.
So just beating the primary opponent was
that's it.
Was the thing.
Yeah, that's it. I don't have to go up against anybody like other people do. So this is my general election, because some people have been like, oh, we shouldn't, like maybe they've said things like Humanity Forward shouldn't endorse anybody until they win the primary. And I'm my primary is my general. Like there's no general. Like if I don't win my primary, it's done. I can't wait to prove my viability to you by winning the general, because then I don't need you, frankly. I mean, by then it's like, that's great. That's nice. I love it. Thank you so much. But I could have used your help a couple months ago.
It's weird that they don't realize that.
Yeah. That's what I realized. It kind of just clicked in my head, really. Like I knew that, but then I was just like, last night I was like, oh my God, these people really think that like the general is an actual thing here. Like, this is not a thing. Like, the primary is the thing. Like,
Right,
you win
right.
the primary and that's it. Like, game over. We're not going to flip red, after 45 years. Like,
Yep.
being solid Democrat.
Yeah, totally the same for AOC. Like, the second that she landed the primary, that was pretty much it. We all wondered, like, oh my God, is this when a Republican's going to take it?
No, they're not going to do that. They're like, heck no. Like, she's young, she's got energy. I mean, come on. Like, you're not gonna, you're not gonna flip red suddenly when you like you despise Republicans when it's like such a heavy blue district. Yeah.
So are you saying? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Greg.
No, I was gonna in the comments. A couple of people brought up, talking about poverty and what's been happening right now. Maria Richards says, especially now watching farmers destroy crops and spill milk while food banks can't keep up with demand. And Dave says the local farmers market by him, he's in central Pasco County, up where I live, has co-opt with other local farmers and food companies. They're providing free contractless delivery of farm fresh produce. It's awesome and should be the model. I don't know how much farming goes on in your district. Are you seeing some impact on farmers and farm laborers?
I wish I knew more about that. There are farmers definitely in my district. There is quite a bit of rural land. I wish I knew more about what they're experiencing right now. Right. I'm not really sure exactly because obviously I've been self-quarantining in a bubble. Would have liked to be having more of those conversations, but you kind of have to go to them. They're not really on the Twitter.
They're not doing Zoom chats with you, local farmers.
The live streams as much, so I have a bit of hard time figuring out what's going on for them. But I'm sure they're having a struggle. I mean, it's everything's difficult for a lot of different ways. But I wish I knew. I wish I knew who was doing what and what was going on in the community. That's one thing that really sucks about this campaign is not being out there and talking to people and shaking their hands, which is something we can't do anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, you're in uncharted territory here. Yeah, for sure.
Are we going to shake hands and kiss babies ever again?
Right.
I can't.
I can't remember a campaign cycle ever that had this specific problem, going on.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. We can't even fist bump anymore.
Yeah.
All right, Corey. I'm sorry, I jumped in on you.
No, that's quite right. I was because the reason I brought up the whole Goliath versus David thing when we were first starting Shipple, which the cryptocurrency that I created that we started messing around with last year. One of the, it was never intended to be like a meme thing, but I made a meme as a banner. And then
accidentally made a meme. Oops.
Well, no, I got to make a banner. So it was that the guy looking over his shoulder guy, and his girlfriend was fiat currencies, and the other one was triple. It was just it was funny. And then we probably made, I'm gonna say 1,000 fucking Shipple memes, and that's probably pretty close to accurate.
Yep.
Completely messed up. So that's where the whole it's nuts, right? So that's where the Meme Wars app came from, because we were doing that kind of thing weekly over there and stuff like that. So, but in the first month, there was just I don't know, Heid, you would know about some cryptocurrency stuff. There's a thing called a Bitcoin maximalist that basically Bitcoin is the only thing that exists. Oh. Every other kind of cryptocurrency is garbage, right. And everyone could go fuck themselves. So of course, I come around and I make a cryptocurrency that's making fun of Ripple, because it's, of course, shitcoin plus Ripple equals Shipple. And so one particular Bitcoin maximalist named the Todd, we named him the Todd, was very angry and kicked everybody out of groups, and we kept needling him and stuff. But the memes that were Shipple versus the Todd were some of the most hilarious fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life. So, Suzanne Bonamici is the new Todd. And so I asked, who's going to hate what you're doing the most? He said people that love the status quo, and because it benefits them, which I think is very accurate, and career politicians. And I think our community is a little bit divided on, I'm thinking about Casey Marion right now, a little bit divided on the career politicians. I fucking love a good primary, especially in a safe district, right? So I think that you just look at AOC's district, right? The guy was pretty high up in leadership, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Had a totally memorable name that I totally remember right now.
Yeah.
Martin. No.
Something. Yeah, that's my whole point. Nobody fucking knows who he is. Right? But he'd been in that district for a long time and was so disconnected that he couldn't even understand that somebody was about to come and eat his lunch. And so I think that especially in those safe districts, I think it's really vital to battle it out in the primaries, just because we need to keep evolving as a party, right?
Yeah.
So
they
that's,
need to. I mean, you can't have a safe. I don't think you should ever be safe as an incumbent. Like, that's not a good situation. Like, you should be challenged every single, cycle. You should be challenged and have that so you can stay on your toes. Like, this is not a cushy, like, I'm just going to chill kind of position. It shouldn't be, at least, but it's turned into that. It's turned into that because people feel like they can't do it. They don't have the money. They don't have the resources. And it just, people don't challenge them. But yeah, they should be on their toes. They should be, having to prove that they deserve the job still. I mean, no one should be just sliding in every time.
AOC defeated, sorry. AOC defeated Joe Crowley, who was the Democratic caucus chair and a 10-term incumbent.
Fucking 20 years. Jesus.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty...
I remember seeing his face the night that he lost. He's like, huh. Like, he almost looked like,
what happened.
I got a band. I'm just going to go home. It's crazy.
Crowley.
Fucking
yeah, Crowley. I watched that documentary on her run, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Super inspiring. Yeah.
Greg and I didn't cry on the internet talking about that.
Not at all. Not at all. And she has like 10 opponents coming up in the 2020 cycle now. So
yeah, one of them's running on UBI, so I know her. She's in a lot of our chats and everything. Yeah. So
interesting.
I've been watching AOC start to kind of nibble on coming around on UBI. I said that she would the second that she made the unbelievable unforced error of copying TYT's really shitty line on that.
Right.
Oh, the libertarian Trojan horse.
Yeah.
I think some of these UBI proposals are acting like a Trojan horse. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you don't know what you're talking about right now. Like, just like don't say anything.
And it's rare for her. It's rare for her to jump in front of a bus like that.
I think that's the only, and we might be able to find another one. But like, I've watched countless hours of tape of this woman in congressional hearings, like on fire. Like, not Katie Porter on fire, but fucking really close, right? So that's why it was really, really disappointing to me. It's like a cursory look at the evidence and the idea and the amount that this could benefit people would make that statement just impossible to make, right? So, but I think you're allowed one error in your career, not two, but one.
I'd like for her to recognize how transformative for her personal life, for her life, this would have been 5 years ago,
right? And also, like she's starting to talk about UBI a little bit now, and again with this pandemic situation. Suddenly, a non-means tested UBI, like of the squad, I think 3 out of the 4 of them came out for literally explicitly saying, "Fuck means testing. We have to stop doing this because it's slowing everything down and it's going to
send people money." Yeah,
right. It's going to create bottlenecks and a whole bunch of people are going to get missed. What the fuck are we doing? Let's just do it, right?
Yeah. Well, Talib had an awesome proposal, I think, where she was like, mint the effing coin, basically, or have the Fed print on the coins and give that money to the people, because that's what we do to the banks and everybody else. We just print it.
Yeah, I saw some, because I'm in some like trading communities and stuff, and obviously cryptocurrency communities and stuff. Like, there was one guy that was like, how, like, he was being super annoyed by the whole thing. Like, you don't just print a coin that's worth $50 and call it 2 trillion. And I was like, hey, that's actually a much better, compelling story. As somebody who made money for fun, that's a much better story than we're just gonna print it, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, right? Well, money's not real.
That's what they're doing now. Exactly. Like,
money's not Fed, real, you guys.
Right.
Like, it's just like,
they literally invented. They went on their computer and they said, "Can we have $8 trillion more, please?" And the computer said yes. And at least Rashida Tlaib was like, "We're gonna make a coin." Like that
computer says yes.
Yeah, computer says yes. I actually loved the idea of creating that narrative around this is a symbol, a thing that we're going to express has this value. Like, it really like it has a meaning, like that because that narrative, that sort of shared belief is all we really have, right?
Yeah, I think it got missed. I think her point unfortunately got missed. I mean, I think she understands that concept, and I think the proposal was really cool and, unique, and I liked it, but I think it went over everybody's heads. Unfortunately, I was like, I love that. And you had, people that understand that money isn't real who also loved it, and that supported UBI, and we're like, that's an innovative way. That's an innovative way to get this done right now, especially like on an emergency basis. So it's unfortunate that a lot of people didn't catch it, but yeah.
Like Fred says, his roommate works for Amazon. She was quarantined for 16 days. They promised to pay her. They talk about their heroes and their ads. More than a dozen phone calls, and 3 weeks later, still no money. So not following through on promises made.
Well, Amazon's a terrible employer. I talked to a lot of people that call me for trying to get health insurance, basically, and they don't offer it to a lot of their employees. They treat them pretty bad in general. Like the stories they've told me, they're just like, yeah, it's crappy. It's not a good situation. So that's what happens when you have these billion, trillion dollar companies that pay zero in taxes and only care about keeping their machine going. You're not going to treat your cogs in the wheel, very well. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Can confirm.
DRS Metal. I don't know who that is, but thanks for joining us. I'm not thrilled about voting for Biden.
Who is? Oh my God.
There's like,
but you know, like there's a meme that goes around that says, attention, Democrats and independents, in the 2020 election cycle, there will be a candidate that is not perfect for you, that doesn't agree with everything you say, that doesn't, support your whole platform. And you're going to have to kind of find a way to vote for that person, because that's more important than any other consideration in this election cycle. And that's still as true today as it was in 2017 when I started seeing that meme.
Yeah, that's literally almost every single year of the presidential race. I mean, that's just like,
yeah, but this is like, I think the mistake that I see being made is that people that are thinking this is just another normal election cycle, the rancor and rhetoric is like any other. It's not like any other election cycle, and it wasn't before the pandemic, right? There's so much at stake here. I kind of believe that if we don't take this White House away from Donald J. Trump in November, we might lose our country. And I've never felt that way before. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, duck and cover drills, when we might literally get incinerated by the Soviets. This is a really scary moment, and I just wish people, I think a lot of us are, I think a lot of the people that are making noise now are going to hold their nose and vote for the Democrat in the presidential election. And that's good. But the people that are threatening to stay home, one of the things I want to say to them is, you're not just not voting for Joe Biden. You're voting for the next one or maybe two Supreme Court picks. And you're voting for everybody down ticket, friends like our friend Heid Briones, who is running for Congress in Oregon. If you don't show up at the polls, Heidi doesn't get your vote. Your local legislative candidates that want to turn your county blue, like Danny Andinino here in Pasco County, and our friend Brenny Goyette, who's running for county commission, they don't get your vote. If you stay home, if you opt out, they don't get your vote. It's not just the president you're not voting for. It's everything down ticket that has a much more important daily impact on your life. So get your shit together, Never Biden people. Get your head out, pull your head out, start thinking about who's down ticket on that ballot, and vote for them, for God's sake.
And honestly, like having a 7-2 Supreme Court for the rest of your life is all anyone needs to think about.
Holy crap. He's going to elect some 34-year-old, never sat on a bench judge who's ultra conservative. That's who he's going to nominate. That I don't like. And that person's going to sit on the Supreme Court for 40, maybe 50 years.
I don't know. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg needs to keep doing her yoga and drinking her green. Oh my God.
Like if we could right? Can we just turn you into a cyborg? Can we upload your consciousness to a computer and you have like a million years as a justice? Okay, good.
Ruth Bader cyborg? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. That is a very good meme. Yeah. Like I think that just shot to the top of Heidi for Oregon's platform. We want to turn Ruth Bader Ginsburg into a
that's one of my
immortal
platforms.
AI.
Yeah, that's one of my
cyborg
platforms
that lasts forever.
That's one of my dark web platforms. I have,
like you have your normal one.
Yeah, I have like my normal website, and then you go to the dark web, and it's like all like Ruth Bader Ginsburg cyborg, and like
okay. For anyone else
I definitely
that watches,
want to help for that project,
right? All right, so that's a meme you'll make. For anyone else that watches Letterkenny as much as I do, dark web.
Glorious.
Dude, I fucking love that show. Anyways, moving on. So I asked you what the best possible world would look like, and you said a utopia where people only work on things that they love and make them happy and never worry about money.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
like,
worrying about money, worrying about money is the worst. And that's what we spend so much time doing. And it's like, it's so infuriating to just even, conceptualize that. If you just think of all the hours and years that people waste worrying about money and like even just budgeting, that kind of stuff drives me nuts. Like I personally hate that kind of thing. Like I just think it's a waste of my creative energy and space to like sit there and like make sure all these ends meet, and these numbers go together. Like we should be living in so much abundance, that we don't worry about those types of things. And there's ways to do that. I mean, there's ways to create that in the future. So that's my dream and my goal. And you can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one,
You are not.
I should write a song about that.
I know, right? So catchy.
Have you seen the movie Yesterday? About
yes.
the young English guy that is riding his bicycle home. He gets hit by a bus and he wakes up the next day and he's the only person in the world that remembers Beatles songs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So he plays Yesterday for some friends and they're like, wow, that's an amazing song.
You got to recreate it. Like,
so he becomes famous for being like, writing all the Beatles songs. He just has to, write them down from memory. It's actually a really charming little movie. There's a few other things that were no longer anymore. Cigarettes. Nobody smoked. Nobody remembered cigarettes. And
that's great. That would be a great world, actually.
No Coca-Cola. Like, he asked his mom for a Coca-Cola, and she's like, "A what?" Has no idea what he's talking about. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, that's a good little movie. What was I gonna say? DRS medal. Trump will destroy Biden. Yeah, if y'all keep talking shit and not show up to vote, that's exactly what will happen.
I mean, no poll suggests that, and Trump just let like 60 to 70,000 people die in a preventable pandemic. So maybe
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Who knows?
The Electoral College is a tricky creature, though. So
it is. I think that the best thing we have going for us for the Electoral College right now, like the numbers that Biden has for working people and in rural areas, are dramatically higher than Clinton's. So
I mean,
that's a thing that exists, and
also
that's
without him trying. That's without him trying at all. You'll have
right.
You'll have people flipping just because. I mean, because you have the pivot counties, Obama to Trump, and you'll see probably a lot of the reverse people that feel, because Trump got rid of food stamps for a lot of those people, and that was a huge thing. So a lot of them are not happy. And a lot of them actually got on Affordable Care Act plans during the Trump administration and feel kind of nostalgic for Obama. So there could be a chance to have those counties pivot back. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that happen in microcosm already in Kentucky, where the governor has been fairly progressive, is being fairly aggressive about the pandemic and his response to it, threatening to take down tag numbers in church parking lots and send people their fine for breaking the quarantine order. Like he represents, and I think in Kentucky, some of the poorest of the poor who voted for Trump because Jesus, Bible, I don't know, because they've been taught that all Democrats
Trump because of Jesus in the Bible. That's epic. That's just
I mean, they've been taught that all Democrats want to eat babies, whatever it is they've been taught. The guy
that grabs pussies and that dude. Like
it's not proving out.
That's Jesus in the Bible for sure. Like it's just.
I do not disagree with you. DRS Metals bet, sorry to be doom and gloom. Just being truthful, Biden still believes I should be locked up for smoking an herb. Yeah, okay, except that here's what I believe is the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Joe Biden is going to staff himself with people around him who are going to advise him that we're walking away from massive amounts of tax money in states that have legalized. Just the banking regulations alone would change the available money on hand for states to do things for themselves that the federal government can or won't do. And I think he'll see the value of that. I think I think you're right that he's holding on to an archaic position, but I don't think that he's so calcified with stupidity that he won't listen to his advisors, like our current president doesn't do. I was disappointed, at the stroke of a pen. Obama could have changed the banking regulations, could have changed the scheduling for cannabis to put it in a different category than drugs that are truly dangerous to us. It didn't do so. That was a big disappointment for me with Obama. And I think that Joe Biden is running on the Obama 2.0 platform. But I want to remind you that if Joe Biden is elected, he'll be it's the most progressive platform anybody's ever run on. Like,
which is sad. Which is
it is sad, but it's better than
fair.
It's better than what we've never had a nominee. If Mike Dukakis had stood up for the things Joe Biden is, he would have lost even worse, right? It was not doable when Mike Dukakis ran for president. Jimmy Carter was sort of an anomaly in that moment, right? This is a big opportunity to move things in a more progressive direction, especially if Joe Biden is smart and picks Stacey Abrams as his running mate, because
that would be awesome.
Far more progressive than she is, and she would be the natural to succeed Joe Biden in the next presidential. So
yeah, I think the thing that gives me the most hope, and I talked about it a bunch, but I'll talk about it again because I can do whatever I want.
It's my show.
Yep. The watching what happened, like as people started pulling out of the primary, and one by one, Biden was creating, and maybe it's team, maybe it's whoever, but I think this is direction coming from the top. He's creating a coalition, right? So everybody that was even remotely open to it said, okay, what's one of your policy ideas that I can bring into my platform, and we can basically coalesce this as a team, right? That means that, like, on everything that we care about as Democrats, there are at least going to be people at the table that are championing the ideas that we want to have championed. Now, if only he would fucking bring Yang in and do the same thing with UBI. I'm realizing that I can't get everything that I want instantaneously, which is really annoying. I should get everything that I want instantaneously. But that gives me hope. It really does, because it means there's going to be a proactive, coalition building is going to be one of the top priorities. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and he got spanked pretty hard this week with the things that they did reach out and say, see, all these progressive ideas that we're proposing, that we bring them into the platform. He got spanked pretty hard for not going far enough. And it's April, kids. There's 6 months till the election, right? There's plenty of time for them to add more things to assuage the fears of people on the left about cannabis, about UBI, about healthcare for all. So the good news about right now is it's an adjustable platform, and they've got to pause, just like the rest of us, to sort of put their heads together, and figure out some ways to it's got to be clear to them that they are losing some folks, that there are some folks that are not buying what Joe is selling. So they're going to have to modify it. That's how you win. You adjust, you reflect, you modify, and you soldier on. So
I don't know if you win by policy though in this one. I feel like you win just on just fuck Trump, basically. Just
that should work.
That's true, but
in a just universe, that would be great.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be like the no malarkey thing, like that thing, like basically like, let's stop messing around, you guys. Like, this was a failed experiment. Get the dude out of there. Like, let's go back to just like normal Joe that we can count on to like listen to us. And I think it's just going to be a type of values run, to be honest. I think that's a safer.
Wonky. I agree. Yeah. That's a safer win. Like, all of us policy wonks are like, no, you have all the policies. Right? Because we're here every day talking about politics. Most people aren't, and they don't care. They're just like, hey, can we have responsible leadership, please? That'd be great.
It doesn't really win elections when you really look. The person that has the most compelling message, like an overall message on who they are, and is so exciting to people. People don't know all their policies. Like, only like weirdos like us go through and read like every single policy and get onto the weeds. And they're like, well, what do you think about this though? What do you think about this? And it's like, the general person just gets a feeling about somebody, and that feeling drives them to fill in the bubble. And they spend very little time thinking about these things. So if their feeling is that they hate Trump more than they dislike Biden, then that's gonna, I think, win overall. And I think last time we saw people hated Hillary more than Trump, and the outsider appeal of Trump and the populist right thing that he did worked really, really well. But I think a lot of people will see it as a failed experiment, and that would be what wins. If Biden is victorious, I believe it'll be on his messaging and his values and getting rid of Trump rather than pushing what Biden stands for.
All right, I'm going to throw the link up again to Heidi's to Heidi's campaign page, so you guys can drop in there, learn about her platform, and send her some money, because it costs money to run for Congress. Newsflash. Under the system we have currently, that's how we're going to get that done for her. And also, I wanted to say, it's like seeing you, like I think the page is different now than it was the last time I was there. You in a business suit, you look very Katie Porter-ish. You have this like really studious kind of thing going on there. So good on you, man. That's
somebody get this lady a whiteboard.
That's right. Yep. Please promise us you'll do that. That if you get on some committee, you'll start showing, going, okay, Mr. Banking Representative, get out your whiteboard and go to town on their asses.
Hey, I was a teacher for the better part of a decade, and I'm also from Orange County, so we have a lot of things in common.
Nice.
Okay. Do you have a whiteboard?
I have a whiteboard, right here. I have lots of whiteboards, actually.
Could you do me a huge favor and take a picture of yourself with a blank whiteboard?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I could.
That's meme. That's meme.
That's 1,000 memes right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might get excited about memes.
I'll get my wife to
that.
take a good one. I'll just
there
stand
you go.
there.
Yep.
Do you want me to stand like this, or how do you want me to hold it?
You do you, boo.
Okay.
I can't tell you how to stand. You're a grown ass fucking badass lady. But
I just want to know visually. But okay.
Yeah, no, like just
my suggestion would be holding the marker at the bottom of the whiteboard and looking at the camera. Stand in front of the whiteboard, looking at the camera with a marker in your hand. I think that would be
okay.
Yeah, just leave enough room for somebody to put lettering up there on the.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Fucking genius. Okay, cool. So, because of that, I asked you about favorite themes. You said a new generation of ideas. So, I mean, again, and for people watching, all you have to do is go look at my memewars.app user feed. The first 2 memes on it are terrible because I hadn't done one in a while. I implore you to make a fucking awful meme. Like, just make the meme that you think is the dumbest possible thing ever. We had one in Shipple where it's just a dinosaur, and all it says is "all my friends are Shipple." That's like objectively stupid, but it became one of the top 10 memes of all time. Like we just love it. It's adorable. We love that shit. Anyway, so make terrible memes. For example, just take the picture that Heidi's gonna make and go a new generation of ideas, because that'll work. Anyway, so I asked you if you had any quirks. And you said lots. I've only done one other one of these things. It was the Karma Credits guy, and he didn't have any quirks. And if you look at the interview I did with him, you can see
why. But he runs Karma Credits, so I know he has some quirks.
Quirk in itself. Yeah,
it does exactly. He's like, we don't need money anymore. Like, okay,
that's a quirk. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, exactly. He comes armed for quirk. Anyway, so what's Animal Crossing?
Oh, it's a video game.
Okay. Yeah. But I've heard this like 3, 4, 5 times now. Like, where do you find this video game?
It's a Nintendo game. It's on the Switch now. It just released the newest version. So
it's sort of like Farmville and Minecraft had a baby. If I could describe it, that would be how I would do that.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty decent. Yeah. It's there's farming elements, there's community building elements, there's crafting. So there is crafting elements, and there's it's fun. You basically have your own little island, and you kind of create it and form it the way you want to, and you can visit other friends' islands and steal their fruit and all kinds of fun things, and fish. And
honestly, it's maybe wish I had a Nintendo system around. I don't. I have a PlayStation. I don't have a Nintendo.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, like I could go to your island, Greg, and like we could hang out on your island. I could check it out the way you made it, and everybody does different things. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's fun.
Cool. Okay. So again, another super easy meme.
That's a very easy meme. I'm like on in an Animal Crossing island. There's tons of screenshots of Animal Crossing. You could like put me in there, like digging up a hole. Or something like, because you dig like with a shovel. Work. So I could be digging up something like interesting. I don't know.
Nice. What's cool is Sue Gentry, who's in the thread right now. Sue's one of like the all-time meme champions, and anything Corey and I have ever done, she's been all over it with really great artistic, funny memes because she is an artist. So she's like, oh my God, that's my daughter's pandemic survival Animal Crossing. So I'm sure we're going to see some Animal Crossing Heid Briones memes from our friend Sue.
That's awesome. And you also love reading self-help books.
Yeah, I know. I do. I like it. Love it.
Got a favorite? Got an all-time classic?
Well, my ultimate favorite is the 4-hour work week, because that
Nice.
changed my mindset on a lot of things. So to me, that was my thing that made me leave the country and go teach English for several years, and kind of stay out of law school. Kept me out of law school. It was like, don't do it, you're gonna hate it.
Is that Tim Ferriss? Is that his?
Yeah.
That was his first book. So
Nice.
that just changed my mindset on how to create a life that you enjoy, and what's actually important, and making sure that you actually create your life instead of someone else doing it for you.
Nice.
I love it. The reason why I was looking over there is because I have Tools of Titans literally sitting on that dresser.
I also have that.
Have not read all the way through.
Nice. Hey, Heidi, have you read the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book? It's probably. No. I'll tell you what. That's a really good self-help book.
I'll tell you what.
It's 2 sections. It's how the program works, how we did it, and then the second is people's personal stories of gaining and keeping sobriety. But the first part, there's a lot of great tools for spiritual development in the first half of the Big Book.
That's great. No, I love that. I love trying to be a better human, because we have all the tools, I believe, inside of us if we actually use them. So it just kind of brings it out and makes you a little bit better, hopefully.
Well, the guy that wrote it, Bill Wilson, Bill W., he's famous for being one of the 2 founders of AA. Like, the last thing he says in his section of the book is, surely you will meet some of us along the road as you trudge, or surely you will meet some of us along the way as you trudge the road to happy destiny. And his argument there is that it's not, happy destiny requires work, and you're going to trudge that road. It's not like you're going to skip lightly down the road to happy destiny. It's going to be work. And that's been my
the way to not end up at happy destiny is to not do anything. That's for sure.
Exactly right. Just go, climb back in your misguided beliefs, and
just do nothing, and I guarantee you'll be unhappy. And
right on. Hey, it looks like, is that moving forward is posting? Is that Rio posting?
It's me.
Oh, okay.
I went in. I went
put the C behind it. I get it now.
Yeah. I went into YouTube and realized that after the fact that's what I was doing, because I just uploaded some stuff yesterday. So that's fun. All right. So I want to go back for anyone thinking about making a meme and loading it up on memewars.app. Again, we're gonna vote on this in a few days, and the best one's gonna get $20 worth of Bitcoin that I'm putting out myself. Because I'm really excited that you're going to make that picture now, because I would put a small amount of money that it'll be one of those that wins, unless somebody gets a really good picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a cyborg. that could change the game fundamentally.
Or a really good Animal Crossing one. I mean, it'll go over some people's heads, but if you're clever, I think that it could be good too.
Niche is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to. I think you listed poverty. I think abolish poverty has to be on a meme at some point. I absolutely love that idea.
Somehow destroying it, hopefully in a violent way would be funny.
It's like nuking poverty. Is this I almost want to see. I'm gonna see if I can find something that would be sort of a good bedrock for this. The idea, there's this idea of getting money out of politics as a fun idea, or getting way more people money in politics is a much better idea. And I don't know quite how to make that meme, but that's going to be on my mind. If somebody comes up with a better one than I could, that'll be good. Because it's such an interesting hack, right? Like Citizens United hard, democracy dollars. It's actually going to be really easy. Like, what politician in the universe wouldn't be like, wait, I'm not going to have to call anymore, and people are I just have to talk to 1,000 people and they can all give me $100. Like, okay.
Yeah, I'm picturing a lobbyist drowning in democracy dollars or something. Actually, we talk about drowning out their money. If we literally have them drowned, they're they've got their money. They're
somewhere K Street underwater.
Yeah, something, or the Scrooge McDuck coins. They're just drowning in that, and those are all little democracy dollars.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Nice.
Obviously, access to healthcare. I don't know how you make that meme, but somebody should. And again, the glass to your David is Suzanne Bonamici. And the people that are going to hate what you're doing the most, people who love the status quo because it benefits them, career politicians, people that feel too comfortable in their position, which is good. Hey, your tribe is Yang Gang. I mean, we got to get the gang in on this, because their meme game is already pretty good.
There's some Yang meme Twitter handles that we definitely need to tag. I know, I can't think of them offhand, but there's some Yang specific Twitter handles that only do Yang memes. So those need to be heard at.
Yeah, there's Andrew Gang's dank meme stash on Facebook. There's probably some good stuff, good material in there.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, and what does the best possible world look like? A utopia where people only work on things they love and make them happy and never worry about money. And I don't know how you make that meme, but I want to put it up on my wall because it's good.
You know what? One of the things that I wanted to touch on in this moment is like, what's been fascinating to me and really beautiful to me is the number of musicians, artists, other talented people who are just going live and giving their art and their talent away right now in a moment when we most need it. So when we have conversations about cutting funding for the arts and cutting cultural endowments and things like that, I hope people remember this moment, that who's keeping us sane are people like Corey, who goes online and streams an hour of live music just because, it's the right thing to do. My friends, Julie Black and Dave Eichenberger did a front porch concert at their house yesterday where they streamed it live, and all sorts of people are popping up that I know are talented, never get online and play, and they're doing that right now. So let's remember that we have a way to make it possible for musicians and artists to do that all the time. We have a way to do that, to make them not dependent on gig money, to allow them to be creative and express and sell on their own. Well, their creative goods. And Sue Gentry is one of those. She's asked me to do. We did a Stay the Fuck Home music festival, which was a spiritual success but a technical failure. Is kind of how I've landed on describing it.
I mean, I got to go first, and it was fine for me. So
yeah, Corey, and one other person. Their sets went fine. Everything else was it was a mess. But Sue has already asked me, why don't you do one of those for artists, where you have artists come on for about 20 minutes and show their artworks and how you can buy their stuff. She's a polymer clay artist and does a whole bunch of other stuff too. So these are great ideas, and we could fund that with UBI. Like, we can make it possible for musicians to take the time to write even more music and better music by actually paying them. It's a crazy concept, without needing a bar.
Yeah. That's why we need that concept to expand. We can't just have, like, in my opinion, one national UBI. I think there needs to be multiple dividends for different reasons, different communities, different purposes.
Nice, like a tourism UBI in Florida, specific to whatever your state's.
Because everybody's different. I mean, our country's so broad, and it's great to have a universal, base so nobody falls below that national poverty line. But every state has different needs. When people talk about, well, 1,000 in New York is nothing, it's like, well, that's why New York should have their own dividend too, because there's a lot of money being made in New York, and why aren't those people getting a dividend when you literally have the stock market right there? That seems wrong. So then, there should be multiple dividends set up, and there should be artist ones and, crowdfunding type of UBIs that we can set up. There's so many different ways that we can do this if we just reconceptualize what it means to, have money and give money and who deserves it.
I like it. All right. It's 11 o'clock.
Show over. We're definitely ending on that badass rant right there.
I'm half tempted to show everybody the screenshot reaction picture from yesterday.
Oh,
your face?
You totally should.
Your face?
Yeah,
that should 100%. That should literally be a meme, like just your face.
Well, I do. I want to have. I do want to have a hashtag copy meme session at some point, and it's probably just going to be variations of this. Jesus Christ.
Pointing too, the pointing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're like, what?
Yeah, it was
It's such a real moment for you there.
And that was okay, but then it turned into like the guy with the Hail Hitler guy and the girl with the butt plugs, and it was like, okay,
well, I was okay with that one, but
yeah. Honestly, yeah, everybody with a Y chromosome was pretty much okay with that one. After the fact, I got a bunch of messages. It was super weird too. She just took her clothes off and sat there. She's like, "What's up?"
Oh man.
Okay,
so
because I'm on my phone, Heidi, I couldn't see any of this. Like, I literally had no idea what's going on, which is why I'm like, doopa, doopa, doopa.
Yeah, you're just like, everything's great, and Greg's like freaking out.
I had no idea.
Pretty much.
Greg, that face is so good.
I got really mad when we got done with it. We killed the stream, and I banged on my desk and yelled a little bit. And after about a minute and a half, it got funny. But at first, it was like one of those things that just should never happen to you when you're doing live broadcast.
Like, yeah.
Okay, so
Feel kind of violated too, probably.
You know what? Yeah, but
like,
we kind of left the stall door open and
like,
invited naked weirdos to just join us because, yeah.
It is kind of funny for them, though. I'm sure they laughed immediately.
Yeah. So Sturgill Simpson has coronavirus.
Fuck off. With that,
don't know how serious yet, but happy thoughts.
We should have ended back on the
we probably should have.
Now we gotta
and maybe even like Greg's face. Okay, we're out. But that's now.
Now we're like, oh god,
no.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
All hail Baby Yoda.
All right. Now you're gonna end up in Baby Yoda porn again. Is where that's going.
That's so weird.
All right, so thank you everybody for joining us for #coffee. Hey, Heidi, thank you for making time to join us over here on the East Coast, where we can be of absolutely no help in your local election.
But hey, honestly, we could make 50 memes. One of them could go viral, and you could
that's all I need.
Raise $10,000 from that.
One national news story,
and I raised 10,000 in a day, and the world and this election is my oyster. So
all right, well we'll keep working on that from here. You keep not shaking hands or kissing babies for now. Lots of Zoom chats and conference calls.
Thanks so much. Live long.
All right,
thanks, Heidi.
That's going to do it for #coffee for Monday. We're back on Wednesday. Corey, you had another guest lined up for Wednesday. Is that correct?
I think Friday. Somebody reached out to me from New York. Congressional candidate. So.
Well, Ade wants to come back and join us. He had a great time.
Yeah, let's do that on Wednesday. That guy is fucking funny.
We have a local punk musician who does great impressions, and he's hilariously funny and smart. And we had a great time with him Friday, so we definitely wanted to come back and join us again.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for #coffee on the So Local Live Network. I am Greg Smithwick. That's Corey Cottrell. That's Heidi Briones. She's running for Congress. The link is in the discussion thread. Please donate generously so we can do great things for our country, because that's kind of why we built this machine. Anyway, Sasquatch is real. We love you. Have a great Monday.